Welcome to Jackie's Craft Table. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I'm here for Spellbinders, and today I get to show you their card kit of the month for April 2020. The kit is called Weekend Fun, and this is their product list and inspiration page. I'm going to show you everything that this fabulous card kit includes before we get into our card projects. And I did make 10 cards with this kit. You always get 10 envelopes and 10 card bases. You get this cute little bottle of green sequins. I love how they come in these cute little bottles. They're fabulous to store. Some of these are neon green and some are metallic. Just a nice mix. The kit always includes some foam squares and some double-sided adhesive. You get a set of 12 dies, and I'll show you these in more detail in just a minute. Spellbinders really outdid themselves with the pattern paper this time. The patterns are always gorgeous, but I really loved the patterns this time. Let me flip through this pad so you can get a closer look. I used up a lot of pattern paper for my cards in this video, more than I usually do. Some of these pieces have beautiful gold foiling on them, like this one here. Isn't that gorgeous? The peaches on this one are so bold and fun. But you really get a fun, eclectic set of patterns. I'll finish flipping through these. There are a lot of them. I love this purple one. And the florals on these are so much fun. Next up, you get some dimensional stickers. And these are really beautiful. They have some gold foiling on them. I used many of these on my card projects, and they just add a pop of magic to your cards. The stamp set features a beehive and a cute little bee. You get some really fun sentiments. You get a large sentiment that says bee, and you can mix and match this one with all of the others. You get a 2-pack of chipboard stickers. Let me pull these out of the cellophane so you can get a better look at them. I love the hugs banner. I think that is so cute, and the yay. Here are your die cut shapes, and I'll give you a closer look at these in just a minute. Now let's flip through the cardstock. I really liked the color choices for these. You get 3 different shades of pink, which just made me happy. And you also get a piece of metallic cardstock, and it's double-sided. You get 9 sheets of cardstock in all. Now let's open up these die-cut shapes. I like to store them in my empty Spellbinders box. This way they don't fall all over the desk and get lost or stepped on. You always get some beautiful florals, and I like to put the florals in one corner and the sentiments in another corner. I separate out all the little critters and put them in another corner, and then just random shapes in the fourth. And by the time I'm done working with my cards, it is a big mess, but I like to use up these shapes on the insides of my cards as well as the outsides. They're just a lot of fun, and you do get 2 of each, which is fabulous. This time I even cut the lid off of the Spellbinders box. It was just easier to handle and manage on my desk this way. And I think there's a die-cut shape for every occasion this time. It's just a wide variety of shapes. This kit is a monthly subscription. However, if you want to skip a particular month, you can certainly do that and then resume it again the next month. There are some card kit add-ons. So if you want some of the products from this kit, but you don't want to subscribe, you can purchase those separately. But it is just a few items from the kit. I'll have the links to everything below. As promised, here is a closer look at the dies. I was so excited about this one. I adore cameos. And you get this beautiful cameo die with this oval frame. And all of these bits that cut out flowers and leaves and even a choker to go around the girl's neck. The sentiment die says celebrate, and then you even get dies that cut out some of the elements from the stamp set, which is really fun. For card number 1, I'm going straight for the Cameo. I'm using a set of new dies from Spellbinders, and this is called the Hem Stitch Rectangles. And I'm going to cut out a piece of this pattern paper. I'm not going to use the hem stitch for this one, just the rectangle die. And to put this card together, I'm not going to use my usual dot liner. I really like to use the double-sided adhesive that comes in this kit. It comes with a lot. This time I didn't even finish all of it. But I put a few strips of it on the back of my cardstock, and then it's easy to peel off with a craft pick. And now I can just center this on my white card base. I'm going to put more adhesive on the back of my pattern paper. And then I can center this on the blue cardstock. And now I'm going to put together this beautiful cameo. I'm putting down the blue cardstock first. And I cut out the oval frame with some gold metallic cardstock. I just put little dots of glue behind this, and it just pops into place so easily. Doesn't that just look beautiful? I couldn't decide what color of cardstock to use to cut out the silhouette of the girl. I ended up with just white. And I'm going to pop her up with some of the foam adhesive. And I'll center that in my oval. So much fun. I already cut out several of the flowers with the smaller die cuts. And this was the funnest part of the whole card, putting on her beautiful little choker. I'm using a dark pink color for this. Isn't that cute? I just love the little bow at the back of her neck. My next step is to add some of these small flower die cuts. And I'm just adhering them on with teeny drops of glue behind them. The dies also cut out a small circle center for each of these. I'm using my craft pick to manage all of these small bits. It's tipped with wax, and a tool like this really comes in handy. When adhering things onto the metallic cardstock, you do have to give it a little more time to dry. But the metallic cardstock on this frame really makes it pop and look beautiful. I also die cut several of the little green leaves, and I'm going to adhere those around this cameo. These card kits are always very well thought out. I never have to use any of my own cardstock for these kits. And I'm just carefully sliding them under the flowers. Some of the stems of these leaves I actually snipped off. This just helped them to fit better next to the flowers. I'm using some of the foam squares behind my sentiment. And then I can peel off the release paper. And I'm just going to add this diagonally down in the corner. And it's just a fun, scripty, and gold-foiled sentiment. The foam squares behind this sentiment just added a fun pop of dimension, too. On all of these cards, I do decorate the insides, and I use die-cut shapes as well as leftover bits of patterned paper and cardstock. On card number 2, I'm using the Spellbinders rectangle dies to cut out a frame from this green cardstock. I'm trying hard to align them perfectly. However, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit wonky because I am going to be putting lots of pieces over this frame. Here it is all cut out. I love this piece of pattern paper that have the peaches all over it. I already adhered that onto my card base. I'm gluing my frame down at a jaunty angle with some liquid adhesive. And the star of the show is this cute peach sticker. I'm just going to put little bits of die-cut shapes and flowers behind and around it. I just cut around the sticker, so the backing is still on it, but I can just move it around. I pre-cut out a lot of the little flowers. And I just have those ready to put on my cards. I'm also cutting up one of my oval die cuts. I'm just using that as a stem for some of these flowers. Everything's going down flat on the card, except for the Everything's Peachy sticker. This is a very simple and easy card to put together. I think what took me the longest was die cutting all of these little flowers and adding the leaves behind them and the centers on top. But I love how they look. It was just fun to do. And then if you go ahead and die cut a bunch at a time, you'll have them ready for your next projects. And now for the cute dimensional sticker. Just center that. And then I'm also going to use some of the sequins around this panel. I really love the neon green ones. And here's a close-up look. There were a lot of die-cut peach shapes in this kit, and I wanted to use more on the front of the card, but I settled for just using one on the inside, and it says, "You're a peach." They were all just so cute. The design for my next card is very simple and quick, but I really love how it turns out. I cut out a piece of the pink cardstock so that it's just a little bit smaller than my card base. And I also cut out a piece of the pattern paper and cut it into a triangle. I'm attaching that to the top of my cardstock. And then I did cut out a little strip of the gold metallic paper. And I'll use this to cover up the seam. This just helps to make it look more finished, and it adds a pretty touch of shine. I'll flip it over and cut off the excess. I already added some double-sided adhesive onto my card base. I'll center that down. I really like how the white card base shows around the edges. On this card, I'm going to use 2 of the stickers. I'll just peel off the release paper, and the sentiment says, "Hey you." I'm going to put that on top of the coral pattern paper. I think I said pink cardstock, but it is a piece of the pattern paper, and I just love this bright coral color. I'll attach my butterfly at the top, and then I'm just using 3 sequins around this panel. I like the look of these green sequins on this coral paper. It just pops. And that's all there is to this card. Fast and simple, but I love the way it turned out. Here is a peek at the inside. The sentiment says, "No one else like you." The tone of my next card is set by this pattern paper. To me, this looks very charming and old-fashioned, and I'm going to use my hem-stitched dies to cut out the panel as well as the cute hem stitching. These dies are a lot of fun. However, they will leave a lot of little dots on your work mat, but it is well worth the cleanup. Now let me carefully peel off this purple tape and show you what this looks like. This is a piece of pink cardstock that I'm adding onto my card base, and it's going to completely cover my card base. I'm not doing a white border this time, but you will be able to see the pink of the cardstock around the edges of my pattern paper, as well as through the hem stitching. Next, I'll glue on my oval die. I already die cut my Cameo 3 times. I'm going to adhere these together. I want it to have the feel of a chipboard sticker. This will just make it a little bit thicker. I decided to use a piece of the pale pink cardstock on top, just to make it a little different from my first card. Now I'm going to attach a die cut shape, this cute little butterfly. I added some foam tape behind it. This time her choker is going to be out of the gold metallic paper. And it just adds a fun touch of sparkle. I just love it. I'm also adding a chipboard sticker at the bottom for my sentiment. I thought about adding the green sequins, but they just didn't look old-fashioned enough for this card. Here's a look at the inside. I like that old-fashioned looking teacup. I thought that was just perfect for this card. Another pattern paper that I just loved is this yellow retro-y looking piece. I'm cutting it out with a Spellbinders oval die. I love that their dies come separate. You never have to snip them apart. I made sure to align the die so that the stripes were straight up and down. Next, I can attach my pink cardstock onto my card base. I try to edit out me putting on the tape every time just so you don't get bored with that step. Now I can glue down my oval pattern paper and start adding a lot of these die cut shapes. The central piece is going to be this cute little dog. Look at the cute little face on that dog. I'm going to pop him up with some foam tape. This is kind of going to be a collage card. I picked out a lot of my favorite die cut pieces and I'm adding them to this card. I really love the sentiment. It says, "So many reasons to smile." And then I really loved this little bag. And look at the cute little tag right there that they included on it. Just cute details. I'm going to put it behind the dog. And I have to remember to put it kind of higher than its legs so it looks like it's behind the dog. I did fuss a lot with the different images on this card. It took me a while to find a good place for each of them. And some of them you see here that I didn't even end up using. But these kinds of cards are really fun to do. And there's a lot of opportunity with this card kit to do cards like this because you do get so many images. I really like these little arrows that I'm going to attach to the top of the card here. Just cute little touches that add a lot of fun to your cards. Everything's going down flat except for the dog and the sentiment. And then I'm going to add more of the neon green sequins. This kind of has a retro-y feel to it as well. I don't know why. It's just something about the dog. It's so cute. And here is a close-up look at the completed card. It wouldn't be half as cute without that touch of gold metallic paper, I think. It sure adds a lot. On my next card, I'm going to do a bit of coloring. I pulled out my Polychromos colored pencils and I stamped my image right onto the piece of pattern paper. I'm using up the second piece of this cute pattern paper, but I just thought it was perfect for my little beehive. I'm going to color it in yellow and I'm using a light brown at the edges to add some shadows. And then I just add little pops of color for the flowers. I'm not doing much shading on the flowers, I'm just putting color down. But it ends up just looking so cute. This is so well drawn. The bumblebee I'm coloring yellow with a little bit of blue on its wings. And now for some white highlights with my white Jelly Roll pen. This adds a lot. It just helps to make it pop. I'm also pulling out my VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And I'm going to stamp up a few more of the bumblebees on the pattern paper. This ink is great for stamping directly onto your paper without a stamp positioner because it goes down thick and dark. I misstamped one, but that's all right. I'm going to stamp out more than I need, actually. I'm going to cut these out with the die that came from this kit. I just love this. I'll just tape that in place with a little bit of purple tape, and I'll run that through my die cutting machine off camera. Next, for my sentiment, I'm going to use the large bee sentiment. The whole sentiment says, "Be happy." And I kept the tiny bee image next to it. I thought that looked so cute. On most of the cards I create, I don't give much thought to where I'm going to put the sentiment until I'm done with the images. I don't know why, I never learn. I think it's because I just get so caught up with all of the darling images and pattern papers and everything. So for this card, I wanted the sentiment to be at the bottom so that I could put all of the bees at the top. But I needed to make more room at the bottom, so I'm doing a little bit of fussy cutting around the beehive. It does end up looking kind of cute because my little beehive overhangs the peach cardstock, and it gives it kind of a fun, different look. I'm going to adhere another strip of the metallic paper on the side of my card base. I'll snip off the excess. Before I add my main card panel onto the card base, I'm going to glue the two pieces together, the sentiment and the image. I needed to put another little piece of the adhesive tape behind this just to hold these two pieces of paper together. And now I can adhere it to my card base. I have to go really slow when I use the adhesive tape behind this because you're not going to be able to pull it up once you have it down. I used the bead die to cut out some white cardstock. This will just add a little bit of thickness and sturdiness to my bees. I'm putting the card into my mini MISTI so I can stamp out these little flight lines or whatever they're called. I didn't want to chance messing that up. Now I can adhere all of these cute little bees around the card panel. I'm popping some up with more of the foam tape. Once I use up all of the squares, I use the negative space and just cut that up for my different die cuts. I'm adding more of the sequins around this panel. To add some fun sparkle, I pull out my Spectrum Noir glitter pen. I'm adding it over the bees and the flowers. It provides just a pretty subtle touch of sparkle to your different card projects. For the very last touch to this card, I pull out my corner chompers and I soften the edges of just the right side of this card. I really liked the effect of this on this particular card. Just needed a little something more. And here is the completed card. This turned out a little more complicated than I had planned. But this was a fun one. I really enjoy playing with my colored pencils whenever I get the chance. And I'm going to play with my colored pencils again on this card. I stamped out my images onto the piece of peach cardstock. I'm using the same colored pencils, except I am going to add a yellow ochre. The yellow ochre will add some warmth to the image. When I colored in this image on the pattern paper, there was already a tinge of warm yellow on that paper, so I didn't need the yellow ochre, but it adds a lot on this cardstock. I already stamped the 3 different sizes of the hexagons. One of them is the black outline, and then the other 2 I stamped with some yellow ink. Once I'm done with my coloring, I am going to fussy cut this image. I wish that this image had the coordinating die like the bee and the hexagons, but it was pretty easy to cut out. I'm stamping out my sentiment onto a piece of lavender cardstock. This says, "Celebrate like you're the queen." I just love this sentiment. What I also love is this darling piece of blue pattern paper with the white dots on it. So I already adhered that onto my card base. I cut out several banners, including my sentiment, into a banner shape. 2 of them I'm going to adhere down flat onto my card. And then for the actual sentiment, I'm going to pop it up with some foam pieces. And I will adhere this down right over the other 2 banners. I think that looks so cute. I'm also going to use some foam adhesive behind my little beehive. The banners give the beehive something to sit on so it doesn't look like it's floating. And then I went ahead and die cut all of my hexagons. And I'm adhering those down flat onto my card. Here's my finished card. I really like the yellow and the blue and the purples together. On the inside, I used my leftover hexagons. And that was kind of a complicated card, but it was fun to do. On my next card, I'm going to take inspiration from the example page that came in this kit. They used the silhouette of the girl, and they used a lot of different strips of paper cut to an angle. So I went ahead and cut out several pieces of cardstock and cut them into an angle. This is going to be a fun birthday card. On this last strip of paper, I'm popping it up with some foam tape. This is where I'm going to attach my silhouette. I added lots of layers to my silhouette as well as to my sentiment. This will just add a little touch of dimension. I'm going to add this to my card base now. It's going to be a little bit smaller than my card base by about 1/8 of an inch. Now I can put together this cute silhouette. I cut out the silhouette again with the gold metallic paper, and like they did on the example page, I just glued that so the very edge of the gold was showing. I just thought that looked so pretty. The sentiment is going to go at the bottom, and I just put little dabs of glue behind that. I'm also gluing down 3 different flower die cuts along this pink cardstock. The pattern paper is a lot of fun. I just love the gold crown details on it. The pattern paper was my inspiration to add this crown on top of the little silhouette. That is so much fun. And then I added the green cardstock just to add a pop of color, something different from all of the pink and gold. That finishes off this card. On the inside, I also stamped the sentiment that says, "Celebrate like you're the queen." And I framed it with a cute oval die cut. On my next card, I'm using another cute piece of pattern paper. I really love all of the colors in this. For my focus piece, I'm going to adhere these 2 butterflies together. They're the same die cut shape, but I'm adding a little bit of foam tape between them to give this a bit of dimension. I'm gently curling up the wings. I'm trying hard not to crease or bend the paper, but I just wanted those to pop up. I'm using a strip of gold metallic paper on the side of this card. And once that is in place, I'm going to start adhering my Hug chipboard stickers. I'll just snip off the excess. The chipboard stickers aren't very sticky, so I did add a little bit of extra adhesive behind them. And I'm starting with the first letter, and then I'll jump to the last one, just so I can get them placed evenly across my card. I pulled out all of the gold foiled leaves that I had left from the die cut shapes, and I'm adhering those down flat onto the bottom of my card. However, if I could do this card over, I'd add my gold metallic strip of paper at the bottom of this card. I think it would have looked better covering the ends of my foliage. And now for the circle die cut. I'm adhering that down flat just because the butterfly has enough dimension already. And then I can center my butterfly on this circle. I'm using liquid glue this time to add this panel onto my card base. I just didn't want to flatten out my butterfly. I'm going to add more of the green sequins. And then this is where I should have stopped. I added another die cut shape at the bottom. It's a sentiment and it says happiness. I didn't like the look of that, but it was too late to pull it up, so that's how this card turned out. And here is a close-up look. I think the pattern paper is still the star of this show, and it just makes it all right in the end. On card number 10, I wanted to showcase as much of the beautiful pattern paper as I could. I cut a lot of the pattern paper into strips. This piece of coral pattern paper, I'm actually going to adhere onto a piece of the metallic cardstock. And then I'm just going to start layering them down this card base. A lot of these pieces are leftover scraps, and this is a great way to use them up. I chop off the overhang as I go along, just so I don't lose sight of my card base. And this card starts out so promisingly, but it just turns into a train wreck here in a minute. I love how the strips of pattern paper look on this card base, but I keep adding to this card. I just don't seem to know when to stop. There were so many die cut shapes and stickers that I wanted to use in this video, and I should have just saved them for more cards, but I just kept adding to this poor card. At first, I was just going to use the Darling Yay chipboard stickers. I'm going to center on the A first. And of course, I have to use a little more glue just to make sure that these stay put. And then I can add the Y's at either side. I pull out my corner chompers again, and I'm using the 1/2-inch chomp, and I'm going to round all 4 corners of this. And then I find another chipboard sentiment that I really like, so I'm gluing that down at the bottom. This is probably where I should have stopped, but then I found this cute arrow, and so I'm adding that. And then I remember that there are a lot of different arrows in the chipboard stickers as well as in the die cut shapes. So I just don't know when to stop on this card. But at least I was having fun. I wish I could have pulled some of these extra bits off when I had finished this card and was looking at it. But once you use your liquid adhesive, it's there for the duration. Thanks for joining me, my crafty friends. I hope you enjoyed my video and got some fun inspiration and ideas to create some cards of your own. I'll have the link for this kit in the description below, as well as links to the add-ons and all of the supplies that I used. Check out my blog for pictures of all of my cards. I hope you all are staying safe and staying happy. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you again in another video really soon. Bye!